Yes. Click the links for Odysee, bitch, support channel on Coffee, or you can join the channel and get a shiny icon. I wanted to put like custom numbers in there, like 350 for about 350 and 420 and all that kind of stuff. YouTube won't let you because YouTube won't let you have any fun. Okay, so there is a lot going on with this story, and it's interesting because it has deeper meaning than this surface level approach is going to suggest. Alarming hints. I'm not alarmed. Who's alarmed by someone's difference of opinion? Ah, you're trying to destroy who I am. Where are you seeing this? Is it possible that these people are just crazy people who need medication? Yeah, they need to align their chakras and meditate and possibly masturbate and, I don't know, find their inner Odin. In case you are unaware, J.K. Rowling wrote 3 books of the Harry Potter series, which were made into films. The books were very well written and hugely successful, as the films. I think I saw half hour one of the films. The books were great. I read the books more than once. That's how good they were, and they were written for kids. I'm like, whoa, this is a pretty damn good story. Predictably, it got a fan following, more so because JK is also a whack job far left liberal, which is the current flavor of the day. But as it turns out, 2005 left wing is not good enough for 2020 left wing. Then there's this little piece of work. The purity test just keeps getting more extreme. Terry Pratchett had a book called Monstrous Regiment, where a religion kept getting more and more rules added onto it, to the point where chocolate was haram, or in the book it was an abomination onto nuggins, which couldn't be written today because it would probably offend the Muslims and Jews as somehow Islamophobic. Even Terry Pratchett would be problematic, which should tell you that there is a problem. If you don't have a dogma, if you fundamentally don't believe in anything, you'll be controlled by those who do have a plan. The BLT, SJW Twitter kids, they're just useful idiots who seem to have never picked up a history book, ever. Social justice, or they never stop to look at their teachers, their professors, and go, I wonder what their bias is. I wonder if the things that they're saying can be backed up with objective facts. No, just listen and believe. That's a useful idiots. Social justice is just sort of their religion. It's like nature abhors a vacuum, but so does the human soul. If you get rid of one belief system, then another will just crop in. That's why it's just go back to the old ways. The Frankfurt School, cultural Bolshevism, but they have no dogma, so the rules keep changing every year, where even a woke SJW of 2010 would fail 2020's purity tests. If you told an SJW of 2000 about drag story hour, 4-year-old children's being put on Teva Pharmaceuticals female hormones, thanks, Israel, or boys and girls cutting their organs off and being turned into catamites, or even men in women's showers, or children dancing on stage and people throwing dollar bills at them. If you think I'm kidding, please go look it up. They would have assumed that you were a right-wing conspiracy nut. Even the conspiracy theorists could not imagine mutilating children being on the menu in 2020. But here we are. The useful idiot children have no dogma, but their puppet masters very much do have a dogma and an agenda. But I think that they may have built a golem that is starting to get away from them and starting to turn on them, inshallah. Because even on the super left-wing Twitter, the commie kids are calling them out, so perhaps things will get interested. There's been a schism and a shift in the left very recently, and it appears to be growing. There are no brakes on the woke train. It is going downhill, accelerating, on fire, headed towards a bridge that is out. You can see how they reacted to the Substack issue. Nobody passes the purity test because every year the test gets stricter and stricter. The Substack issue is a great example. The cultural Bolsheviks on Twitter want Substack to kick off people. It's a a blogging site that they finally managed to monetize, which I don't know why it would be so difficult to do. Like, the internet's been around a long time. Like, you just finally managed to get this concept off the ground. People, they want to kick people off who said words that they didn't approve of. I remember when the left fought for free speech. There's an image of Berkeley, California, like 1970 or something, and there's people holding a sign, marching in Berkeley, fighting for free speech. And then 50 years later, there are people in Berkeley marching against free speech. That's when you know you've been subverted, and it's time to find those subverters and invite them to go somewhere else. So the modern left wants to censor anyone that they feel utters wrongthink. Then when you ask them, but if you're given that almighty power, won't you just label anyone who disagrees with you as hateful and just censor political opponents? Why would we trust you with that much power? If you don't like Substack, don't subscribe to that person's channel. Don't stop me from the right to hear their different viewpoints. I don't need somebody to pre-filter my news for thought crime, especially not a cultural Marxist who has adverse interests. Oh, and yes, I care more about a story than your lives. That is absolutely okay with me. With JK, the kids have created a castle on sand in their brainwashed little fluffy heads that reasonable people are not allowed to disagree and remain reasonable people. One side says men are men, and the other side says no, men are women. Okay, we've both expressed ourselves. Let's move on and talk about movies or whatever else. There's no need for rancor or ad hominems, but the kids need that dopamine on Twitter, so the BLT issue is their reason for existence. If I remember the Latin for that, I would have thrown it in to sound smart, but I don't. So they just cannot leave J.K. Rowling alone because she believes that women are adult human females. Can I say that on YouTube? I don't know. This is similar to the Inquisition, the witch trials, the mobs that used hemp to bypass due process, or even the satanic panic in the 80s and the repressed abuse memories that have been going around. It's humans slipping away from civilization into savagery. It's 1984. How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? We were always at war with Oceania. If they can make you believe absurdities, they can make you commit atrocities. They make ridiculous claims, and when you ask for evidence, they call you phobic, dox you, get you fired, and your banks close your accounts. They want you homeless, and they want you to self-delete for wrongthink, which 20 years, all these kids, they're going to grow out of this, and they'll look back and go, oh, that was just a phase. Why didn't the adults correct us? Because it feels like in America, the adults have left the building. These are the political commissars of Russia, China, Cuba, that we were warned about. The related issue that I see cropping up with the globalists is that they absolutely must destroy the biological family and ethno-tribalism for the cattle while retaining their strong in-group preference. It's game theory in action. They advocate for their tribe's interests while destroying anyone else trying to advocate for their own tribes. Rules for thee and not for me. You see this in films and comics quite often, especially more in comics. A little blonde girl will reject her biological family and join a mixed group of plucky ragtag kids to go off on an adventure and fight evil blonde men. The lesson learned is be a traitor to your tribe, but only in some directions and not in others. You never see the story reversed, ever, which doesn't make sense. If people mix, it destroys diversity. Instantly, you've just destroyed something. You've created people who have no culture or roots, people who belong to no tribe. They're nothing. They have no past or future, which is what these people want. And, you know, getting a tattoo of something like this is like getting a tattoo of Coca-Cola or something. Get a tattoo of like Mars. the god, or something you have some connection to that goes back thousands of years. Get some, what are those, Nordic ruins? So I bring this up because a girl in the comments was haranguing people who still liked Harry Potter. She said she had to cut ties with her family because they were toxic over some petty BS. In 2016, you saw liberals go off the deep end over Trump. Globalist writers were advising women to break off with their MAGA family or boyfriends. Nobody on the left was wondering what the deeper issues were with the media brainwashing. Nobody stopped and examined the writers and the media that was pushing this, and they never asked, like, who's behind this? What's their bias? Where are they coming from? Who benefits? I don't remember the Latin of that either. Always ask, like, who benefits? Follow the money trail. That will start cluing you into the bias. Then people's who appear to be one thing on the face of it, and then you scratch below the surface, and you're like, oh, lizard people. Great. This current generation of kids are just Mao's children, but they've never actually read about Mao or the history of North Korea or Russia. They have no idea what they're doing, but they're doing it anyway. What do we want? Yes, and we want it now. If you have to deplatform people who have a different opinion than your own, then that means your argument is pretty freaking weak if it won't stand a rebuttal and cross-examination. Why not bring all viewpoints out and let the people decide what is best? That's the whole concept of due process, is you bring up a point, somebody rebuts it, you present evidence, and they examine the evidence. That's the way to bring the truth to the table and not just be a slave to somebody else's viewpoint. Because free speech and merit terrify them. And I don't know if I can say this next part on YouTube, but the left is creating something that they claim to abhor. They couldn't find any monsters to fight, so they had to go awaken the sleeping dragon so that they could kill it, and also kill anything that looks like a dragon. May you live in interesting times. It's a blessing and a curse. Anyway, go to Odysee, BitChute, Sports Channel on Coffee, or join the channel, get a shiny icon. And if you're one of the first 15, I'm gonna... one of the first 15 will win some comic books, because I've got some graphic novels that I have to give away. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. I'll see you on the next episode.